Who's phone?
Me.
That is.
Thank you.
That's a good start to the interview. You gotta be nice.
Nice. Alright, guys. Just be as open as you would like, or not as open. So be closed if you want. Anyway, I have to make a video about family stuff. So, it's from going from like young single adults to newlyweds to in the future and having a family. So, I'd like you guys to talk about your dating experience as young single adults.
So I I got home from my mission and went on like one date, and that was it. And I probably could have tried a little harder, but I never got asked out on dates. And then Cole asked me out on a date, and then what? And he was awesome, and he took me out on a date every week until we got engaged.
Nice.
Consistency.
Yeah.
Persistence.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah.
Let's talk about dating life before you were married. How it was. What were some of the challenges? What were some of the things you guys liked on dates, or some things that guys or girls did on dates? Stuff like that.
For Katie and I mean, I tried to date as much as I could when I got back from my mission, and then when I met Katie, one of the challenges we faced was just distance. Trying to find the time in school and work to drive down to Provo and see her.
It's all on
Or
drive.
vice versa. Yeah, and I know you guys did that too.
I was the one that drove.
That's how I feel. But Devin's
Nothing
next to
wrong.
different.
Well, it's hard
So
when one
expensive.
person has to work a lot and the other person doesn't work as much. Because one was concussed. She was concussed, so she didn't have as much school and stuff, so it was a lot easier for her to come up. But yeah, that was just one of the things we faced. I mean, distance is hard, so it was hard to like try and find time for everything. Try and find time for like family, other friends, schoolwork, and then dating.
I do know though, I felt like one of the benefits of that though is that we had a lot of time to talk a lot. Because that's all we could do instead of like
Smooching?
sometimes when, yeah.
She wanted to just make out the whole time, and I just wanted to talk.
Oh, but sometimes when you get in a relationship with someone you really like, it's tempting to spend more time making out than it is
Whoa, who were you?
talking and building a relationship. So, and I know that I could have done a lot better at like, there's a lot of things I could have done better, and I know that I didn't respect his time as much as I should have, but I did appreciate that we were able to talk so much to get to know each other.
Is there anything you guys did to like consciously that you did to prepare for marriage? Like before you had met your.
Oh, before we met?
So nervous.
I guess I tried to be as righteous as possible, because I just knew that, like, if I wanted to marry someone, like, that was very righteous, that I needed to be the same way, and so I tried to keep up on going to church and reading scriptures and praying and just being obedient, because that's the type of person I wanted to marry.
Nice.
Amen.
I think another conscious decision I made was only to date for marriage, and not just to date for fun. So if I didn't see the relationship going anywhere, I would end it so that I could find Devin.
I think another important thing was like dating people that you could go to the temple with, or like, because I mean you're gonna meet a ton of people. You can date whoever you want, but I think it's important to spend time on those that like actually make you happy. Because you see a lot of people who like date people or go on dates with people that like continuous dates, not like one date because you don't know that person very well. Like they go on continuous dates with people that they don't see anything with or don't like find joy in, and so you're just wasting time. And so I think that's important to know what you want and like look for it and look for like good and bad things in every person, so you can kind of build your perfect person, if that makes sense. I mean, you're never gonna find the perfect person. Everyone has faults, but you'll find the person that makes you happy and is perfect to you.
The
respecting women. Like I don't think that's just something that happens like once you're married. Like it's something you gotta practice, like with mom, sisters, girls you date, everyone around you. I think that's something that is important. Like learn how to respect other people, because that's not just something that happens once you get married. It's more important than probably before. So.
Me and Kaden are a little different because we started dating at such a young age. We really liked each other, but we needed time apart where we had to break up and spend time apart to really get to know ourselves. And even though dating each other was comfortable, we both wanted to be together. I think it's that time apart that made me realize how to really grow as my own person and also see what I wanted in my future husband.
Nice, Katie.
Pass the test.
Right on.
Tiff?
What?
I don't remember the question.
I don't remember either. If
Oh.
you say it again, I'll answer. Do you want my answers too?
Yeah.
Because you've already asked me questions like this.
Yeah, but I need to. So how did you guys know that Devin was the one, or Caden was the one, or Brindy was the one? How did you guys come to that decision?
I think it just felt really easy. Like I had been, obviously me and Brindy dated in high school for a while. Then when we came back from our missions, we didn't really talk at all. And we both kind of dated around for a while. And I just noticed, because Spencer hooked us up at Questival, shout out. So it just felt really easy. I remember just being with her, even though it was kind of I thought it would be awkward, and it should have been awkward, but it was just really easy being with her again. And from the time we started dating, it was just super easy to talk to her and be myself, I guess. And then obviously prayer helps you learn that as well. But I don't know, just clicked. It felt good.
Nice.
I feel like that was the same for us. It was really easy, and we were able to connect really easily, and also we had the same goals, and we wanted the same things in our life. We both wanted a family. And yeah, I think a lot of the same desires in a family, and there's a word, and it's on the tip of my tongue, but I cannot think of it. But
Cool.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's there was one specific moment where I was like, that's, what I wanted or what I wanted to marry necessarily. But there was one time in the hall when we were juniors that I told Kevin and Chase that I was going to marry Maddie before we had even started dating. And they'll say that's true because they remember it pretty well. But after that, it wasn't like I knew I was going to marry Maddie. I didn't even know her at that point, honestly. But definitely a lot of the desires lined up, and we were just similar people, and it was really easy, for sure. But I don't think there was one, specific moment that it all just, I just kind of knew from the very start.
I feel like for me, when I was so young, growing up in the church, that I knew that I really wanted to be married in the temple. And when Caden told me that he wanted to start meeting with the missionaries, and they came over almost every night for a week there, but they came and met with him in my family's home, and seeing him go through that experience really strengthened my own testimony, and just seeing him grow so quickly and him wanting to have the same desires as me made me know that he was the right one.
Very cool.
I think it's good to kind of establish what kind of person you want to marry, so that when you do meet that person, you can kind of check those things off the list. like I knew what type of person I wanted to marry, and so when we started dating again, it was just like so obvious to me that he was the right one, because it was like he's perfect to me, like Devin had mentioned, like that person should like be pretty perfect in your eyes. I feel like, yeah, he just like checked everything off my list.
I will say, I feel like I had a really specific list. And dating Devin, he checked off all the major things. And as we went, I saw a lot of those like really specific things kind of fall by the wayside because they weren't really what was important. And so that was really cool to see how God, I guess, widened my eyes and helped me to see what was most important. And those were all the qualities that Devin had. And I agree that it wasn't a specific moment. I actually think that we talked about marriage and like getting married, and then both of us were like, maybe we should pray about this, and we like individually prayed about it and then felt good about it. But it's more like praying like, this is something we've talked about, like, would this be good, instead of going to God and being like, should I marry Devin or should I not, you know, going to God with our decision.
Like,
So you guys are all married. When you first got married, did you have any I don't know, like, kind of imagine how like being newlywed would be, you know, and then getting to that point in your lives, did anything like not meet your expectation, or did anything succeed your expectation, or kind of what were your expectations of having or being newlyweds? So if that makes sense. I don't know.
I thought it was going to be really easy. Like, I thought it was going to be, like, because, like, dating had its challenges, but I feel like dating was fairly easy, you know? But having to share your life with someone is a completely different experience and thing than dating. Because in dating, you can still do kind of what you want, but as soon as you get married, everything is shared. And that's how it should be. That's how my parents taught me. But, like, you just, like, your time is shared. Your money's shared. You have to like balance school, work, trying to like cook dinners, trying to clean, and you can't like. So the first thing I learned was communication, because without communication, none of that stuff works. It all fails, because you have to talk about like what you're supposed to do, and that was hard. And I think balancing families was hard too. Trying to find the best time to spend, like my time with my family, her time with her family. Talking with each family and making sure we weren't like getting caught up in our own families and not worrying about our own little family, you know. And so I think that's an important thing to learn, is that like you don't have to tell your family everything. You don't have to, like, your family doesn't have to know everything you do every day. And so it's important to like live your own lives, kind of get away from them, and then just worry about each other and take care of each other.
yeah, I think it was easy to kind of put all of our problems off and think like when we were engaged or when we were dating, like, oh, we don't need to fix that, like we'll be married and it'll just be solved. And so I didn't have like a ton of expectations going into when we were married, but I didn't have any like bad expectations either. Like I didn't ever think that anything would be wrong, which obviously I was like a naive kid, you know. Like, oh, whatever, if I will just be married, it'll be fine. Like, or if we ever had an argument, I'd like, oh, when we're married, we won't fight about that. Like, I just kind of thought, when you get married, everything's fine. Like, everything will be perfect, and that definitely didn't meet expectations.
There are still problems that need to be worked through.
Yeah, definitely.
What?
Do you want to share anything?
Come back to me. I'm sorry, I'm tired.
Really good answers.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, I agree with what has been said. It's been kind of the same for us. So.
Now that you guys are kind of like past the newlywed stage, been married for, I don't know, almost more than a year, right?
Almost a year.
What advice would you give to newlyweds?
I think going off of what Devin said, communication is huge. Like, you have to learn how to communicate. And I think it depends. Like, Cole came or comes from a family that is really good at communicating. His mom is always talking about like how do you feel? What's wrong? Or how was your day? My family doesn't really communicate like that. Like, I don't know. So it's been harder for me to learn how to communicate. Luckily, he's really good at it, but we have had to learn how to communicate with each other, like how we're feeling or things like that. So my advice would just be like, learn how to communicate, be willing to communicate, be willing to open up, and like if you have a problem with something, or if you're not feeling great about something, I don't know, just be willing to like open up and talk about it. Don't be afraid to talk to your spouse about things that are worrying you or things like that.
Building off of that, I was reading a book on communication. I think I started it at the beginning of the year. And it talks about like if you need like more hugs throughout the day from your significant other, or if you need them to take their shoes off when they walk in the door, like don't be afraid to ask for those things. And it's like, don't be afraid to ask for like a hug or a kiss when you need it, or just to be like, just to hold their hand. Sometimes I feel like we have this mode where like, oh well, they should know that I want a hug, you know, or they should know that I need them to put their dirty clothes in the hamper or whatever. And so then you like don't express it, you
Thank you, Katie.
you don't express it, you hold it in until you're like peeved, and they're upset because they don't know why
They
you're
have no
upset.
idea.
Right. And so don't like
Usually
hold
on the
these
side.
expectations in your mind. Talk about what you expect from each other and what you need from each other, and it's okay to be like, hey, I need this from you, and work together to figure it out.
And going off of that, I think expectations can be awful sometimes.
True.
Cause like, yeah, if you expect them to do things and they don't, like,
And they don't see it as a big deal.
yeah, then it's like, you're like, wow, like what's wrong with me? Why aren't they doing this? Do they not love me? But really, it just takes
Love me.
communication.
Yeah.
Do they hate me?
Well, and I think
Girls are
something
emotional.
that's like super hard to deal with too is like the stereotypes. I know that Devin and I have struggled this. You know, there's that stereotypical life where,
The woman does all the cleaning and cooking.
yeah, and the man goes to work, comes
Typical
home,
family.
and sits on the couch, eats the food, goes back to the couch. The woman does the you know, all these
Hey, you don't
things.
sit on the couch that much.
But so it's you have to define your own household. Don't let the stereotypes define you. But that's something that you need to work out, and you need to set expectations or voice your expectations for each other.
Advice that my mom gave me that I would give to newlyweds is that marriage is not 50-50, and it doesn't work that way, that marriage is 100-100 from each person. And if you just give 50-50, then there's a lot left to give from each other. So if both of you are giving 100 for your relationship, then you'll be successful and both be happy.
Going off both of those things, Katie and I have talked about this too. Kind of talking about how like if one person's doing more of the load somewhere, they feel bad. They feel like they're having to do a lot more than the other person, and like it's never gonna be 50-50. Like unloading the dishes or loading the dishes, it's never gonna be 50-50 on vacuuming. You know what I'm saying? So like every chore, everything that has to be done, all the bills that have to be paid. Stuff like that, like it's never going to be someone does exactly half, the other person does exactly half. There's give and take in everything in marriage. And so like sometimes there's days where I help out more around the house and Katie does more work, more homework, and vice versa, right? And then there's days where I go over and I kiss her more, hug her more, and there's days where she does that to me more. And so I feel like it's going off what Maddie said, if we give 100% in the marriage and notice what the other person needs, then that's when it doesn't matter if they do more one day and I do more the other day. It just matters that you're taking care of your spouse and you want to love them and make sure that they're happy.
So now looking into the future, I guess. and if you don't want to answer, that's fine too. But what things are you expecting going forward for your family, or like as far as like your future plans for having kids, or what may be an obstacle in your path? I don't know. I don't want to say an obstacle because it's different timings for everyone. But what things concern you right now that may prevent you from wanting to have kids or stuff like that? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Not like a
Yeah.
negative way, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we were
School.
actually, we were just talking about this in the car ride over here. And what Deb and I were talking about was school and wanting to get through school. But like me wanting to get through school for sure, which will be like another year and a half. But then also even maybe him wanting to get through school so that we could have some time together where we have more time to do the things that we want to do together before having kids. But it's just like this give and take of, I don't know.
I don't want to be really old having our first kid.
So, and it's definitely something that we're gonna have to pray and think about a lot and figure out as we go. But it's just this idea of, like, we talked about how there just seems like there's never a convenient time to be like, oh, we're gonna have a baby now. There's always, you could always throw things down, but like, but wait, we want to do this, and we want to do this.
Yeah.
I guess. I was a part of this conversation that Katie was just talking about. So, I agree with everything she said, and I don't think we've really talked about any concerns we have. But there's always like, will we have enough money?
Yeah.
And like, will we have time to take care of the baby? Or like, who's gonna work and who's gonna take care of the baby? Or how are our schedules gonna work? Or like, should we wait till we're both graduated? I'm going into elementary education, and I feel like after I graduate, I should teach for like a year. But then that's putting it off further. And so, I don't know, there are a lot of things. I guess just like she said, it doesn't ever feel like it's super convenient to have a kid, but that doesn't matter. Like, you could always make excuses, like Katie said.
Yeah.
So.
I think school and work is always something that will get in the way. Me and Caden, especially when I'm the oldest and Caden's the oldest of his family, I know we
I
want
thought
to.
you meant like out of YouTube.
Oh.
I don't think so.
No, we're both the oldest in our families, and I personally want not wait for both of my sisters to be married, but for them to be closer so that our kids can be closer in age. But so we're just doing what we can to get prepared, but also we want, right? We want to wait.
Yeah, I don't think we're in a rush.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to fill this house full of little
Full
children.
of kids right now, I'm not quite.
Alright. Well, thank you guys for your answers and questions. I'll let you know what grade I get.